Our language modules are for 3 languages: German, French and Spanish. How many languages do you speak?
Well, it depends on the day. Well, very, very well, I don't know, but I can understand 5, 6, a bit Japanese as well.
And which 5 are they?
French, German, English, Spanish, Italian, and a bit Japanese.
Are there any other languages you would like to learn?
Well, I feel every time you learn a new language, the next one is easy to learn. And when you speak Italian, Spanish is easier to learn. When you speak German, English is easier to learn. So, when I was a very young boy, I always wanted to go out of my village. I lived in a very small village, and I quickly noticed that when I went out there, to Germany, for example, people spoke a language that I didn't understand. And I tried to think, okay, I have to learn German. And that's why I worked very hard at school in my German, and I became quite good. After, when I was a bit older, because I was very passionate about football, I thought, I don't imagine that I will spend my life in my village. And how could I get out there and know more about football? Because England invented football, and I thought I had to learn English. And so I decided to learn English, but I never imagined that one day I would coach in England, of course. But that shows you how much, when you catch opportunities when you're a very young boy, it can after decide your life. And when I learned English, I never imagined that I would one day manage Arsenal Football Club. But just to try to learn it changed, of course, completely my life.
So where did you learn English? Was it at school? And can you tell us some of your memories of learning languages at school?
I learned when I was 15 and 16, 2 years, because it was not my first language, and I just could say, I am, you are. And when I was 29, I was a football player, and all my friends went on holiday to Turkey, Greece, and I felt really deeply that I don't speak well enough English. I took a plane, came to London, and in London I asked how can I get to Cambridge, because I thought that's where you learn English. And I went to Cambridge in June during my football holidays, and I went from house to house to see if I can have a bed and breakfast and stay there. And finally somebody told me, yes, I have a free room, you can stay here. And I asked her, but where can I go to learn English? She said, it's easy. You take a bike, you rent a bike there, and you go to this building over there, and you ask for lessons. I went the next morning. Who did I meet there? Is a girl who gave me bed and breakfast. She was teaching there. And I made the tests in the morning, and I was with, at that, I was 28, 29. And I was with children 12, 13, 14 for 3 weeks. But I never worked so hard because I was so motivated to spend my holidays to learn English that in 3 weeks I worked very, very hard. When I went back home, I read only novels in English, and every word I didn't know, I looked in a dictionary. And that's the way I learned English.
In the languages double clubs, we teach football vocabulary in the coaching sessions. Do you do the same in English for your new signings from abroad, to teach them football?
Yes, we provide teachers for the players who come in, of course, that who don't speak English at all, and some players, for some it's easier to learn than for some others. Some learn very quickly, 5, 6 months. Some after 2, 3 years they still don't speak, but most of them try really hard to learn. As you said, you have press conferences, you have questions for newspapers, and you have to, it's a bit tricky, and it's very important that you know what you talk about. And most of them learn and try very well.
So you've coached in Japan and here in London. Did you do any language preparation or revision in advance of arriving?
No, first I had some English players when I was coach in France, Glenn Hoddle, Mark Catley, who helped me to improve a little bit my English. After when I went to Japan, at the start, of course, I couldn't coach in Japanese at all, and I decided to coach in English. They gave me an English translator, and we started to lose the first 5-6 games. And one day the chairman, that shows you what language means. One day the chairman said, please can you come and meet me? I thought, okay, no problem. And I expected the sack. It was to lose 5-6 games in a club is usually means bye-bye. And I went in there and the chairman told me, I've taken a very big decision. I said, yes, I understand. He said, I will sack the translator. I said, thank you very much, but it's not his fault, I lose the games. And finally I could save the translator, and we won a few games after, and we both stayed at the club. But it just shows you at the start, when you're in a foreign country, of course you have to learn the culture, the local culture, but as well communication in our job, because you transmit what you know, your knowledge becomes very, very important. And then I started, of course, to have a Japanese teacher. And it's not only that you speak well the language, but I felt when you get deeply into a language, you know more about the culture and you understand better people. Because the language, the way the sentences are built, has a very big influence on the way people behave. And you penetrate much more the way people think, the way people behave. And I felt every time when I was in a foreign country and I started to learn the language, I didn't speak perfectly the language, but I had always the feeling that I understood them more. For example, in Japanese, you say, for example, if I drink water, in Japanese you say, I, water, drink. The verb is always at the end. So people never switch off. They always listen to you until the end of the sentence. For example, you tell me now, you say something to me, and if I say, I don't agree with you, because you already switch off, because you think, I don't agree with you, you prepare something else to come back to me. But in Japanese, they say, don't agree. Oh. But you have to listen until the end of the sentence to really understand what they want. And it's completely different way of behavior and of thinking. And when you come from Europe, sometimes it's very different. But the language explains a lot the behavior of people.
You mentioned local culture. So did anybody educate you here in English footballing phrases or dressing room banter, let's say?
Well, you know the most common word used in football. You learn that very quickly. You don't need any special education. But what is great in sport is that as well people who cannot speak together can play together. Because you use basically your body and the way you understand the game to communicate. And you can share exactly the same vision of the game. A Russian, an American and a Japanese can play together, have a fantastic time together without talking together. And that's where football sometimes is an obstacle to improve the communication, because the players feel they can anyway play together, they don't need to communicate. And we have to push them really to learn very well English, because they feel sometimes that to play together is enough. And we have to work on the communication inside the team when you have many people from different countries, because high communication in a group means high dynamic. The first thing that dies when a team's dynamic goes down is the communication. Create little clans, right, left, everywhere, you know, and the communication goes. That means the team dynamic goes as well.
So, outside of football, have there been other times that your command of languages has proved to be useful?
When you travel, and I love to travel, and I feel I'm one of the first generations who was not at war, and I feel that we have all been lucky. Now we don't know anymore, but to what I feel in Europe, it's very important that children travel, go to different countries, and learn. Basically, there are nice people everywhere, and that you get over hate. And I've been educated post-war and near the German border, and it was all about hate with German people, you know. And very quickly, I understood when I crossed the border that the people are exactly the same. They try to live well, and the language can help to get over that, because all over the world you travel. One club, what is your biggest rival? The club just lives next to you. In Japan, in England, in Germany, the biggest derbies are always people who live next to each other. And with the countries, it's exactly the same.
Mr. Wenger, you have a daughter. Have you brought her up to speak both French and English? What language do you speak to her in at home?
At home French, at school English. So it's a good balance. She goes to English school, but at home we speak French.
Okay, and finally, we have the children here today who did the pilots for French and Spanish in the double clubs. Do you have any advice for them?
Tests today?
They've done all the hard work, I think. Do you have any advice for them today for their language studies and their football as well?
Well, the best advice I can give them is I'm a living example that if you really want, you can combine both. I was football mad, and I loved to travel. And the result is that I learned language, and I remained in football my whole life. And the fact that I learned languages helped me to really have the chance to be able to be where I wanted to be. That means where football has been created in England. So if you want to achieve, you have all a dream. And I feel it's very, very important that you keep that dream always alive in your head. Because if you really want to achieve it, you can get it. And certainly languages can help you. I wish at least you fulfill your dreams. So.